What's up, friends and strangers? Welcome to the first episode of the Underground for Now Music Podcast. My first guest is an artist from Washington State here in the U.S. We talked about everything from song release strategies, writing songs remotely, how to crowdfund $10,000 to record an EP, and how dreamy David Gilmour is. Check it out.
Oh, all right. So my guest today, Elaine Eagle, from Wenatchee, Washington. Am I pronouncing that right?
That's correct. Yep.
All right. So tell us
I'm
about
really.
Wenatchee. I know absolute nothing.
Oh man. Okay. Well, Wenatchee is hailed as the apple capital of the world. So
Of
we have
course.
fantastic apple orchards, cherry orchards, pears, apricots, anything you can think of. So I think pretty much everyone here has worked in the orchard at some point in their life, and I am not excluded in that. I worked in the orchard right out of high school, so it's kind of a rite of passage here. We have great fruit, great wine, and a lot of great music. So
Right on.
it's
So
fun.
where is Wenatchee located in the state? Like, of course, everybody kind of knows where Seattle is. So in terms of Seattle, where are you?
Right in the middle.
Okay.
It's about 2.5 hours from Seattle,
Hmm.
and we're right on the Columbia River. So there's Wenatchee and East Wenatchee, and the Columbia River is right in the middle. So I can see the Columbia River from my house every day. It's great.
Oh, right on. Very cool.
Yeah,
Very
beautiful.
cool. Yeah. So I'm down here in Southern Oregon, Grants Pass, Oregon to be specific. So we have the Rogue River that runs through here. And
Oh, okay.
kind of similar with the orchards, we have Harry and David in Medford, which is about half an hour away. So
Nice.
they're kind of a big deal, I guess. But yeah, right on, right
Do
on.
you notice when you travel, are you also a fruit snob?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, like
Okay.
nothing compares, to Harry and David fruit. Come on, it's like
Yeah,
30
no.
bucks for a
I
pound of fruit.
absolutely. I've noticed about myself, I am definitely a fruit snob and a coffee snob because we do have excellent coffee in Washington and Oregon both.
Right? That's
So,
something we got to talk about here. So, Dutch Bros started in Grants Pass in 1992. So that's kind of like
uh,
the debate here. I feel like whether you wanted it or not, you're kind of representing Starbucks.
uh,
Right? Okay. All right. I appreciate
personally,
that.
I I prefer a lot of what you would call like third wave coffee, which is people who like
Okay.
roast their own beans and stuff like that. And
There we
I
go.
can't take any credit for knowing that because my best friend has worked in coffee for a long time, so she educates me on coffee. Um, so basically, I go where she tells me to go, and that's the good stuff.
Right.
So
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
So we also have Rogue Coffee Roasters here in town too. And those guys are awesome. So definitely like
Yeah.
small batch, roasting all their own beans. Jeremy does a great job. He's the owner down there, and yeah,
Okay, you're making me want to come visit just for the coffee and the
definitely
fruit.
right for sure. How long have you been playing and singing, and what do you play?
I play the piano.
Okay.
I've played piano for about 16, 17 years.
Okay.
Um, and, grew up doing a lot of like classical. I was in private lessons for a long time and started singing when I was about 16. So about 10 years ago, in like choirs, church groups,
Sure.
stuff like that. And that really built up my confidence, got me used to singing in front of people, which was great. And so I started singing professionally about 8 years ago, playing, accompanying myself and singing that way, just in my local scene, doing a lot of covers. And so now I play like 5 nights a week usually, doing solo piano or solo piano and voice, or I'm involved in like 4 different bands, so one of those. It's very busy, you know how it is. So
Right on. Yeah, of course. So are you playing and singing? Are you doing music full time?
I am, yeah, it's amazing. I do have a little morning job. My dad owns a local delivery business, and so I do a route for him for a couple hours in the morning. And that is just a nice way to kind of pad my income a little bit. And
Sure.
also it's nice because I just drive around and get to like listen to music and podcasts for a few hours in the morning. So it's great. I love it.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Who or what really inspired you to become a musician?
I did grow up in a pretty musical family. I'm an only child, but my mom was a violinist growing up, and she taught violin. And my dad was a musician when he was younger in like high school and college, and then took a break for a long time. He was a business owner, and now he's actually in a very successful local band. They're called Whiskey Trail. They're amazing. Look them up. They do like parties and casinos, and they have their whole thing going. It's great. So my dad plays bass and guitar and has a fantastic voice. So he really got me into a lot of music at a young age, and I would look forward like every weekend to driving. We lived a bit of ways out of town, and so that was like the highlight of my week, is when my dad and I would get to drive into town, and we had the drive to listen to like the good music, like
Yeah.
like the rock and Johnny Cash, and
Sure.
like Queen, Led Zeppelin, the Beatles. I was like, this is the stuff. This is great. So
Right.
my dad introduced me to a lot of great music and a love for music very early on.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know that well, I did had to do a little dive on you to see what you're all about and all that. And I see that you are in a Pink Floyd tribute band.
I am. Yeah.
All right. Tell
Yeah.
me about that.
Yeah. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. So our band is called Artemidris, and we're a 9-person local regional band in Central Washington. And so we have, guitars, drums, bass. I'm one of 3 keyboardists, and then we have like female backup vocals. So I do my job in the band is I'm lead female vocals, and then I do a lot of like keyboard pads and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So I've been with the band for about 3 years, and we do a lot of stuff around the state. So we play in like the West Side, Seattle, Everett, Edmonds. We've played in Spokane a number of times, and always trying to find new like theaters to go to and stuff like that. It's so much fun.
Mhm.
So I sing like Great Gig in the Sky, which has been a huge learning curve.
Sure. I was going to ask you about that specifically. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. And it's been a process for sure. So I met the leader of our band. I didn't know him, but it was like a friend of a friend. And he came to one of my shows and was like, hey, I really like your voice. What do you know about Pink Floyd? And I was like, pretty much nothing. I don't know anything about Pink Floyd. I know Time and Money, and that's
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
So he was like, well, do you know the Great Gig in the Sky? And I totally fibbed, and I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Because
No
better to say
problem.
yes and
Yeah.
get the gig,
Yeah.
So yeah, he like played it for me on his phone, and it's like the screaming, and I was like, I can do that.
Right.
So
I
I
mean,
had no idea what I was doing.
yeah.
But I came to a rehearsal a couple weeks later and gave it my best shot. And they were like, we see the potential. We think you can do this. So do you want to join the band? And I was like, okay. And so it's been just a process of learning and taking different, women who have sung that song throughout the years with the band, kind of
Mhm.
taking those different iterations and sort of making your own version. I also had the opportunity a few years ago. We had a gal named Durga McBroom who she toured with Pink Floyd in the 80s and 90s, and she toured with them I think for like 20 years as one of their backing vocalists. And so she
Wow.
would sing The Great Gig in the Sky, and she did I think 3 shows with us, and her and I duetted The Great Gig in the Sky together. So it was amazing. It was really amazing. A very cool experience for sure.
For sure. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that song in particular, I have to think is way outside of what you were doing in church or anything like that. I think if you did anything like that in any churches I've gone to, they may
And
ask you
absolutely
to.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Right.
I love I love all my like, friends that I grew up with in church, or like my family. My mother-in-law, she's very religious, and so she came to one of our first Pink Floyd shows, and I was like, I don't know how she's gonna react to this,
Right?
but she really liked it, and she was like, she's like, when you were doing your song with like the screaming, I'm like, yeah. She's like, that was amazing. I was like, oh, thanks. So yeah, it's takes a lot of like emotional work.
Oh yeah.
Because you have to really just kind of pour it all out there.
Yeah.
And I think one of the hardest ones so far was back in, what was that, August. We were over at the Triple Door Theater in Seattle, and we did 2 shows in one day. And so I was having to rehearse leading up to it, because practice like you perform is my motto. And so I would ask the band to like, can we play Great Gig in the Sky back to back so I can practice singing it twice, in one go, basically, because it takes a lot out of you vocally, and then I'm doing backing vocals for the rest of the show, and so having to do it twice in one night and really like get out there and like spill your guts vocally that was tricky, but it's always a good time, and I love the audience during that show. Like it's just, you just hear a pin drop, and that's amazing. It's so special. So it's a great experience.
Yeah. So there's obviously a lot of Pink Floyd tribute bands out there, and I think it's incredibly important that continues. Really. There's a band, I'm not sure where they're out of, somewhere in between us actually. Pigs on the Wing. They're
Yes.
great Pink Floyd tribute bands, and they come to our town every year here at the Rogue Theater, and I don't miss it for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think there's a lot to be said for tribute acts. I think there are some musicians who might kind of like roll their eyes or be like, oh, you should be playing your own music, not someone else's music. And I understand that to an extent, but I think especially in Artemidris, what we try to do is like, we're trying to get as close to the record as you could possibly get. So we spend so much time listening and just really dialing in all the details. And that takes a lot of time and a lot of love for the original material. And yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's not like we get together once every other month and we're like, play through the songs. Cool. Like we have weekly and sometimes bi-weekly rehearsals with, coordinating 9 people's schedules to get together and rehearse this really symphonic, difficult material. So it's really like a labor of love to the music and to Pink Floyd. It's great. I love it.
And honestly, very worthwhile. Very worthwhile to do.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. Cool. And getting to play with Durga McBroom was just like that next level up. It was so amazing. And she taught us a lot. And especially me being a backing vocalist, me and my other 2 gals who are in the section with me, like it was literally learning from the master, because she did these exact backing vocal parts for 20 years. And it was so amazing. And my bandmates make fun of me because I have like the biggest crush in the world on young David Gilmour, because he was like
yeah.
And
like long hair David Gilmour.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All right.
He was a good looking dude, and so it was so funny. Durga would be telling us stories, and she was like, "Oh, and then David," and I would just look at my band leader and be like,
"Just David." Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just Dave, Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, and then David would tell us. I'm like, you're talking about David Gilmour,
right? The David Gilmour, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me as a guitar player, David Gilmour's always, I won't say always has been my favorite, but has been my favorite for such a long time.
Yeah, he's so good.
There's that whole shredders are boring argument, and I kind of take that approach. Like, I love Eddie and what he can do, but for somebody to really make me feel something with a guitar, it's David Gilmour all day.
I completely agree, and I'm not a guitar player. I mean, I can play like 6 chords on an acoustic guitar, as you can see.
Right. Yeah.
I know just enough to accompany myself singing, but It's David Gilmour's stuff. It's so simple, and that's something that we've actually kind of struggled with as a band, is that Pink Floyd, it sounds so complex, but you actually really have to like strip it down and be simple with it in order for it to really capture that emotion. And oh my gosh, we end our show, spoiler I guess, we end our show with Comfortably Numb. And my our leader of our band does the Comfortably Numb solo, and I get misty-eyed every time. It's just so, oh my god, he like steps out into the lights and is playing the solo, and I'm like, it's so beautiful, like it's just so good. Love it. Love it.
Absolutely. I saw an interview with him recently where he talked about, somebody asked him, how can I improve my solo playing? And he said, just sing it. So like sing what you want to play and like then figure that out instead of trying to figure out the notes on guitar first. And that's why his solos, are so singable, is because that's exactly what he does.
Yeah, very melodic. That's
Hmm.
great. I never would have thought of that, but now that you say it, that totally makes sense. That's
Right?
great.
Genius. Still learn from him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So talking about your music, so I've had a chance to listen through everything that you have on Spotify, um, and absolutely amazing. Like the sound quality is
You.
fantastic. I mean, your voice, you know, I feel like all of that is kind of half the battle. Like you can be great, you can, play great, all that, but recording is obviously a big part of it. Are you doing these recordings at home? Are you going to the studio to do it? Well, what's your process?
I Yeah, so I've gotten to work with a couple of incredible studios, and one of them is more local to me. So my first two projects, which were a self-titled EP and then an EP called End of the Line, which both of those came out in 2023. Both of those I worked with a studio in Seattle called Temple of the Trees Studio,
Mhm.
and this the owner, his name is Joe, and he's also like he does the engineering, the mixing, the mastering. I mean, he's the man. He does everything. And so I found him online. I was, in late 2022, I was finishing up my degree and had these songs that I'd been working on in school, and was like, okay, I want to take these to like a real studio and have a real engineer help me with them, because I know enough on the computer to like do a crappy demo of
Mhm.
myself
Sure.
enough to like send to somebody who actually knows what they're doing.
Mhm.
And I'm fine with that right now where I am. That's all I really want or need to know how to do on the computer. And so anyway, I had these demos that I mocked up, and I found Joe online and sent him my stuff and was like, I don't know how any of this works. I've never worked with a studio, but your place looks really cool and you seem really nice. Can we work together? And so, he got back to me and had listened to my stuff, and he's like, yeah, I see the potential. I'd really like to work with you. Which was amazing. And so me and one of my best friends, his name is Ramiro Espinosa. You see him with me on the cover of my End of the Line album.
Mhm.
Um, he's a fantastic guitarist, and we have written a lot of those songs together. So he and I went over and recorded my first EP with Joe, and I was super happy with it. I just wanted something, especially for that EP, that was simple, that just showcased the songs and was not anything crazy production wise. So I was really happy with those results. So I went back to Joe for the second EP, End of the Line, and I'm so proud of that EP. It was me and my guitarist best friend Ramiro, and so he and I actually played together as a duo for, gosh, 8 years, 7 years, and we would tour around Central Washington and stuff, playing a lot of wineries and stuff like that. So we played as a duo for 7 years, and we called ourselves End of the Line, and so that's
Okay.
where that title for the EP came from, because those were all songs that we had written and performed together over the years. And so he actually moved. He was getting ready to move out of the country, and it was kind of the end of the line for us for us playing together. And so that's really where that EP came from. And so it's very emotional, and I have a lot of love for those songs because they're all ones that we worked on together. So it's very special. Flashing forward to my most recent stuff, I had an incredible opportunity to work with a studio out of Boston, Massachusetts. So this studio is called Plaid Dog Recording, and their whole thing is that they help small artists to crowdfund for their projects. So again, I saw them on the internet and I was like, wow, this is a cool idea. And I don't have money for this, so let's reach out to them and see if they would help me do this crowdfunding. And I went through the application process with them. We did a lot of interviews, and they said, we think you're a good candidate for this, and we'd like to help you run your crowdfunding campaign. So earlier this year in January and February, I ran the campaign with them and was able to raise the money to record my EP. So that was so incredible. And I'm so grateful to all of my friends and family and, everyone here locally who supported that project, because I have been blown away by people's generosity and how willing they were to support me, and also by the quality of the recordings that I've gotten out of this process.
Well, let's have a listen to one of those songs. This is We're Through.
Started out casual, you were smooth on my tongue. I sipped you like bourbon, didn't know what I'd done. You were going down easy, so I swallowed you whole. Lowered my inhibitions until you had control. Always simple, always around. I trusted you, and so I let my guard down. Took advantage and made me a fool, but now I know better, and I'm telling you, baby, we're through. Baby, we're through. Don't need your fantasies, needing my heart back to you. Baby, we're through. Baby, we're through. Oh, I've got a hold of my life, facing your out. Oh, baby, we're through. How'd I get used to your hands round my neck?
Because after I was able to raise those funds, I took a trip to Boston in May and recorded 5 songs, and 2 of those songs are out already. And I am so happy with them. I mean, they're like what I dreamed they would be, beyond my wildest dreams. I had live studio musicians who, they're all like professional musicians in Boston and go to like the, New England Conservatory of Music in Berkeley and all these things. And so all live musicians on the tracks. And my producer, who he owns the studio, his name is Mike Davidson. He was just so incredible to work with, and I want to work with him on any future stuff. I mean, he really got the vision and was able to execute it in a way I would not have been able to do by myself. So I I felt so awkward on my last day in Boston because, like I said, Plaid Dog, mostly they help people crowdfund their projects.
Mhm.
And I put Mike on my last day in the studio and I was like, hey, so this feels like I'm asking you out on a second date, but can we work together again in the future? Because like this was really great and I really like working with you. And he was like, yes, absolutely. I want to work together again. So it was just such a great experience all around. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that's super cool. I did want to ask you about that because I read about it either in the interview that you did with the magazine or
Yeah.
on your website. I don't remember. But yeah, super cool that those people are doing that for, artists that are kind of where we're at. Uh,
Yeah,
Super cool. So the
absolutely.
songs that are out so far, is We're Through part of that?
Yes.
Okay.
The We're Through and then Atlas are both a part of this new
Yeah.
EP. So Atlas came out back in March
Mhm.
and We're Through just came out about 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
I'm very happy with both of those. And I'm so excited about the other 3 songs that I've got lined up.
Mhm.
Um, I've been playing them live at my shows. And, I love to do whenever I can, like singer-songwriter showcase kind of
Sure.
shows and where you really get to talk about the music. And
Mhm.
they've gotten great responses from those live shows. So I'm very excited for people to get to hear the recordings because I always try to push my recordings. I'm like, if you like this live, trust me,
Mhm.
the recording is like so much better. So
Right.
go listen to
Sure.
the recording. You can hear all the great musicians and, really listen to the lyrics. So
Well, more and more hurled on my back, and one step forward is 5 steps back. I'm slipping, the weight of it's dragging me down, and all you can do is just stand there and shout, Alice, hold your ground.
So is it your marketing strategy to release them as singles, or do you plan to release the next three in a batch?
that's a good question. um, and I would say the answer right this moment is I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
I have, Atlas and We're Through, they both had a kind of quality and I would say energy to them that even when I was listening back through my recordings, I was like, yeah, these are singles for sure.
Mhm.
I would say the remaining 3 songs, I'm still trying to decide if I want to release them as singles or not. And I like releasing as singles because, a friend of mine who's also a musician, he calls it drip feeding.
Right.
You're drip
Totally.
feeding your algorithm and drip feeding your marketing and all that, which I totally agree with, and think that is a great idea. However, for me, where I'm at right now, if we're talking, candidly about business and all that, is I've already, um, it's like I have, my photo shoot done for the
Mhm.
album. I have the, like, a lot of the kind of marketing side and that other, um, yeah, other things like the cover art and all that is sort of already done for the EP.
Mhm.
So I'm still on the fence, I would say, about whether I want to continue to drip feed those or just release the next 3 songs and allow them to be as an EP. Um, I'm very fortunate in that for both We're Through and Atlas, I've worked with a remarkable PR company they're actually based out of the UK,
Mhm.
and they found me and we started working together back in March. And they help you with, like, playlisting and radio and stuff like that. Stuff that just I could not do by myself. It's so much work and these are people that have those contacts already in place,
Right.
and those relationships with people. So that's been really great, working with them. And, you know, they also are like, that drip feed mentality of basically just stretching your material as far as it can go. And your songs are your assets when you're a songwriter and an artist. So they're like, make your assets work for you individually before you release them as a project. And so, like I said, I'm still a bit on the fence with what my next strategy is, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally, totally makes sense. Um, and there's been such a transition, and over the last, 10, 15 years. Um, of course, growing up, everything came out as an album. It was,
Right.
that's just what it was, and people would go and buy the physical media and, read through the liner notes and all that kind of stuff. And those days are just gone, at least for now.
I know, I kind of hate it. I love
Right?
listening to albums, so.
Absolutely. Yeah. And looking through all the art and everything. Yeah. For your own social media marketing, what would you say is working for you? Is it, sponsoring posts? Um, and by working for you, I mean like getting people to listen, but also getting people to show up for your in-person gigs.
Yeah, that's just the elusive thing, isn't it?
Sure
I would
is.
say really it's kind of a lot of trial and error at this point. And there are some things that work. I think the biggest thing, which I can feel everyone listening and watching probably rolling their eyes into the back of their head, is just like posting a lot and being
Yep.
consistent. Which I know is annoying, especially as an artist when you're like, oh, I just want people to like, why can't you just listen to what I'm doing? And why do I have to post and do social media all the time? And I think it's
Yeah.
just kind of a necessary evil almost.
It is.
Um, and I don't not enjoy social media. I think there's fun to be had on social media. And I would say probably the biggest thing for my personal marketing has been having good pictures. I would say I think of my photos as like an investment. And so I work with a local gal. She's fantastic. Her name is Sunday Brunch Photography. And
Mm.
she just like really gets my creative vision, and we click creatively so well. And so I've done my last couple of photo shoots with her, and having those nice, professional, well edited photos at my beck and call that I can just post whenever, that's
Mhm.
so amazing. And, I'm going to be totally honest. I sometimes judge other people's like photos that they post, which I know that's bad, but I think to me, for my specific brand, it's very important to me to have like nice quality pictures. And I it just I took a class earlier this year which has helped me a lot, and it was all about branding,
Mm.
um, and making your whatever your business is. For us, it's music, and you as an artist, making that cohesive. And so whatever touch point someone comes into your music or your social media or your website or you in person or your shows, whatever touch point they come into, they're getting the same feel, they're getting the same vibes, they're getting the
Sure.
same, you as a brand. And
Mhm.
so that was really helpful to me. That was kind of a light bulb moment of, I felt like I was kind of wandering for a long time, being like, what do I post? What is this picture cute? Should I post this? Is this a good cover? I don't know. And that that mind frame of like, be consistent in your vision and your brand has really revolutionized, I would say, the way I post and the way I use social media, and my website and my whole kind of presence. Um, and it's little things too, like the fact that I don't know, I'm dressed the way I'm dressed today and have like makeup on, and I don't know. I feel like I strive to keep my brand the same wherever
Sure.
I am, whatever I'm doing. And that includes social media as well. So to really answer your question, sorry, that was kind of a rant, but to answer your question, I would say sometimes sponsored posts have worked for me. It depends on the post, which is
Sure.
annoying, but it does depend on the post. There'll be one time I'll spend a little bit of money, and I don't really get much out of it. And there'll be another time I'll spend a little bit of money and it's like, whoa, this has like 200 likes on Facebook and people are sharing it and commenting and people I don't know and they want to come see me or whatever. And that's great. So I try to leverage whatever posts that get that engagement. I'm like, okay, let's keep going down that track then. And yeah, so I think sponsoring, it does work, but you have to try out some different things, I would say. Has been my experience. And then, yeah, just being consistent. For me, I post on my stories all the time. And sometimes it's dumb stuff like memes or, whatever. I also I'm very involved intentionally in our local artist community. I really, and that's for business reasons and for personal reasons, because we have a lot of great artists and I want to support them and enjoy their art. And those are also people that will support you as an artist in return. And so I think for me, being really involved in our community social media groups and our community meetups that we have we have an arts committee and all that kind of stuff, that has also helped my social media, I would say, a lot. Just having that group of people that I know in real life who will then, as other artists, they understand the need on your social media to engage. And that's really, really important. And, I always want to do the same for them too. If they, my friends release something, I always want to share it and rave about it, or my friends who are artists and paint or have an art show in town, like I want to share that and get people there because it's such a give and take with other artists and they understand what you're trying to do. So I would say that's also been a really big thing for me, just personally and also marketing wise as a business decision.
Yeah. Do you find, are you trying to focus more on getting people to your live gigs now, or are you focusing more on perhaps your online presence or, growing your Spotify, whatever? What would you say is more your focus, or are you trying to kind of spread it out over both?
I would say currently my focus is more online. I'm very fortunate that we have a great music community and I have people who will come and see me at my gigs. If they're in town, they're going to come and stop by for a glass of wine or whatever. And so I always want to share those and tell people where I'm going to be and, help out the businesses where I'm playing and try to market for them as well. But I would say my focus more recently has been on my online presence, specifically like streaming, go stream my music or like follow along for updates. For me, like I'm stuck right now, both on my Instagram and my Facebook at right about 1,800 followers on both. Like, I want to get that 2,000. Like, it's just right there. I want to get it for both of them. And so trying to post content that's engaging, mixing it up between like pictures and reels and, working the algorithm to engage more people and get people to, comment and share and all that kind of stuff. I would say that's really my primary focus right now. You can ask my best friends who come to my gigs with me. I'm always like, can you take video, please? Can you take pictures for me to post on my Instagram?
Yes.
Like I have become one of those people, which I hate a little bit, but it's you have to do it, and I think everyone understands that at this point. So yeah, I would say definitely focusing on my online presence has been really important. And because there are people, I have that. This is such a cool story. There's a gal who I think we may have met one time in person. I honestly don't remember. But we've been friends on Facebook for a long time, and she lives down in Florida now.
Oh.
And she is like streaming my music. She messaged me and was like, "You have a #1 fan here in Florida, and like, I'm sharing your music. I love your new song." And she is always, liking my stuff and sharing, and like, that's so cool to me. That means the world. That's really why that like keeps me going on social media, because sometimes it can feel very much like you're just talking to yourself when you're talking into the void. But it's things like that and people like that who I'm like, okay, well, if I don't post or I don't make a video, like this person in Florida, she can't come and listen to me. So I want her to see this performance that I'm going to post or whatever. So yeah, I think that as annoying and frustrating and toxic as it can be, social media is a really useful tool.
Yeah. And I will attest that I've been talking to a lot of different artists, as part of this series, and going through, like, I'll see posts and it'll be like, your friend Elaine Eagle liked this, and just seeing kind of all over the place with that. And like, so yeah, you really are, doing what you're saying. And I think it's great. I do have to ask, how have your online t-shirt sales been going?
Oh, are you talking about the lovely misspelled t-shirts that someone was trying to sell?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Has like the big flaming eagle that's totally on brand for you.
Totally. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was so funny. Because I'm signed up for like the business account on Facebook or on Meta, and they were like, there's a ton of new comments for you to review. I was like, sweet, that's great. And then I look and it's like 20 of the same, buy this t-shirt before it sells out. And I'm like, under me,
right?
Like I was doing this, and I'm like, what the hell is this? So yeah, I click on it, and it says Elaine Eagle, musician legend. Holy hell. And yeah, this flaming guitar, like looked like middle-aged dad rock band kind of thing. Totally. And I was like, oh wow, this is not on brand for me in any way. So that I was like freaked out for a second, because I was like, oh, who has access to my account? And I reported it and all this stuff. But then I was just dying laughing, because I was like, this person has they don't know what they're doing, that's for sure. But I do have real t-shirts that I sell, and they're cute. Yeah, they I ordered them, and some people who donated to my campaign earlier in the year, you could sign up for like a t-shirt if you wanted. So I still have some left over. If anyone wants them, hey, hit me up. They're gray, and they say Elaine Eagle in a cute little white font. And I'm actually working on some brand new t-shirts with some of the artwork from my upcoming EP. So I do have real t-shirts and stickers and all kinds of things. So
you've been doing some remote writing together with a partner?
Yeah, so I have been writing remotely for about a year now with a good friend of mine named Tom Larkin, who lives in the UK. And he and I met last September, so September of 2023, at a songwriting retreat in Nashville. And that, I cannot speak highly enough about that retreat. It was with a lady named Judy Stakey, and she was a like vice president at Warner Music for I forget how many years. She, has built up incredible songwriters. She started Sheryl Crow. She has a ton of fantastic experience. And so getting to be there with her for a week and talk to her one-on-one, show her my music, show her my branding, which that's a whole other thing that we could talk about. But I remember she said to me, she's like, I think you've got a fantastic voice. I love your songwriting. She's like, I think you need to dial in on your like brand. And that, I think, is a big thing that has sort of started me on this journey this year of branding, having the nice pictures, having the whole cohesive brand. Because I remember she said that to me. But the retreat itself was just so amazing. It was a week out at this gorgeous cabin outside of Nashville, and I met so many amazing songwriters, and a lot of us still keep in touch. Like, songwriters were very emotional people. I'm sure you understand. And so, like, we spent a week together, and then we were all like, oh, crying, saying goodbye. And we're like, I want to write with you. I want to work with you. Like, it was just such an incredible experience to be around people who get you in that way. And so anyway, Tom and I met there, and we didn't actually get to write together at the retreat because we had Judy, our leader. She would put together songwriting teams every day. And so you would write with random people every afternoon and have a song you would perform that night, which was great practice, great experience. Yeah, it was so much fun. And so Tom and I did not get to work together at the retreat, but like, I loved his work, he loved my work. We were like, we have to make this happen somehow. So yeah, we connected over Zoom, and all the songs on my brand new EP, including Atlas and We're Through, Tom and I wrote together over Zoom. So it has been such a cool experience. Tom, as a writer, is, I don't even know how to describe him. He's so excellent at co-writing and really taking that emotion that you're feeling and expanding it and getting you to really get to the root of it. We always joke that, it's like therapy with Tom when we write together, because he'll be like, tell me how you're really feeling. Expand on what you're saying. And he's like furiously writing notes while I'm talking, and it's great. We've really gotten to finished products of songs that I'm so happy with, and it's just been it has been a learning curve to write over Zoom, because it's always like, wait, turn on your mic, wait, turn off your mic, wait, I can't hear you, can you hear my piano? It's a lot of that kind of stuff, but totally worth it in the end. And yeah, I'm so excited about the songs that we've written, and it makes me want to it makes me really excited because we are in totally different countries and have been able to collaborate. And it's like, who else can I also collaborate with that I have no idea? I've not even met them yet, but we can collaborate over continents. Like, it's so cool. And I think that's just like what we're doing now. I mean, we don't live that far from each other, but just being able to use the internet, that I'm here in my house getting to talk with you, or I'm here in my house getting to write with Tom in England. Like, it's really cool. And I have a lot of other friends. I have another friend actually who I met at that retreat, and she also was living in England, and she messaged me and she's like, I cannot get the chord structure for this song. Can you help me? So we hopped on Zoom. I played her a bunch of chord structures, and she's like, that's the one. And I sent it to her, and it's on her song that came out a couple months ago. So, like, it's so cool. And I love that no matter where I am, I wouldn't say I'm in like a hotbed, I'm not in LA or New York, where I think for so long it was like, well, if you're not there, then you can't do anything that's cool. You don't have any opportunities if you're not there. And it's like, well, that's not really true. Especially in this day and age. And I think particularly like post-COVID, where so much is online and Zoom and Skype and all that, there's so many opportunities out there to do the things that you want to do, even if you're not in person. So yeah, that's been really amazing about writing remotely, for sure.
Love it. And you also took some online classes at Berkeley?
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I got accepted to Berkeley in 2020. It was like right before COVID.
Oh no.
Yeah. And then it really did work out all for the best, because I was like newly married, and we were kind of looking to buy something, but we were like a house, but we weren't sure. And then I was like, oh my God, am I gonna have to move across the country? I don't know. And so it really worked out fantastic. And Berkeley has an incredible online program, because I think during COVID, especially, so many colleges had to move online and try to kind of scramble to make something work. Whereas Berkeley has had an online, like a full online college since 2002. So they really like know what they're doing. And so yeah, I did 2 years, completed my bachelor's in songwriting at the end of 2022 through Berkeley, and I'm looking at my diploma right now. It's right above my computer. So it was a fantastic experience. I loved working with Berkeley, and they really treat their alumni very well too. And it's a goal of mine within like the next year or two. I really want to travel to they do like a Berkeley summit every year where you get connect with people and see all these incredible speakers and stuff. And so that's a goal of mine. I really want to be able to visit one of those in the next year or two, especially because they have a campus now in Spain. And I'm like,
Oh, wow.
say less. Sounds amazing. So
Sure.
yeah, I have gotten to visit the Boston campus. And that was so much fun. And I got to like shop in the student store, and I'm like, I'm a real Berkeley student now.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It was amazing. I love Boston, but yeah,
Go Red Sox.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. It was amazing. I love Boston, and getting to record then my EP in Boston too was really cool. And I got to see some people I met during school and all that kind of stuff. So I was still able to make a lot of great connections, even though I was not on campus, sadly. But yeah, I would absolutely go back to Berkeley. I really like school. I know that's really nerdy, but I enjoy going to school. And so there's a part of me that is like, maybe, a few years down the line, I'll go back and do my master's. They have a new master's in songwriting at Berkeley. And yeah, I would absolutely like recommend them and go back and do more work with them for sure.
So the company that you did the crowdfunding with, also being out of Boston, was that coincidence, or was that somebody that you met through going through Berkeley?
Complete coincidence.
Wow.
I know, it was kind of crazy. And I visited Boston a number of times. My sister-in-law used to live there, and I'd go and visit her, and like for to visit Berkeley and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, no, Plaid Dog, their ad came up, and I just saw like crowdfunding for small artists, and I was like, I'm down for that. And then it was later on in the process when I saw that they were in Boston, I was like, no way. So yeah, that was totally a coincidence.
Right? Are you feeling a draw to Boston? Like I don't know. It seems like a lot of coincidences.
I do agree, and I really love Boston. I'm a huge history nerd, so it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Have you had a chance to do a duck tour?
Say that again.
Have you had a chance to do a duck tour?
No, I didn't get to do that, but
So you're familiar with what that is, though?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
I
think they have some in Seattle too, right?
I have done the one in Seattle, I will say. Yeah. But nothing in Boston. I did get to do, like, we did the Liberty Trail and all that kind of stuff. There's so much cool, cemeteries, and it's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bar where you can drink a Sam Adams and look at his grave. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I wish I could. I can't have beer, which is a huge bummer. I'm a wine girly through and through. But I can't have beer because I can't have gluten.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
So, I can have a gluten-free beer, but it's just not the same.
Right, yeah. No, totally. Well, and especially, being in wine country, it's, yeah. And, perhaps with the style of music that you do, it's more expected that you have a sultry wine glass in your hand. I don't know.
I do agree. I would say it's definitely a little part of my brand for sure. And yeah, I play at so many great wineries that then will give me free wine. And so I think I am also becoming a wine snob as well, because I get this fantastic wine all the time for free. And then I buy like a $10 bottle of wine, and I'm like, what is this? So,
Totally. Are most of your gigs at wineries? What is the music scene like in Wenatchee?
It is a lot of wine. We have, yeah, a ton of wineries, cider places with all the apples.
Sure, that makes sense.
And there's Wenatchee, but then just outside of Wenatchee, we have Leavenworth, which, if you have
Ah,
ever seen, like,
yes.
yeah, the Bavarian Christmas village,
Yeah.
that's Leavenworth. So I play up in Leavenworth multiple times a week, especially like this time of year and
Right.
Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
A lot, a lot of tourism, and yeah. So I don't know if you can even see these back here. I'm like pulling out all my Christmas books
Yeah, I
and
love it.
getting for all the Christmas songs in Leavenworth.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of like hotels, wineries, restaurants, stuff like that in Leavenworth, which is great. And then also, so that's on one side of Wenatchee, and then on the other side, about an hour, is Chelan, Lake Chelan, which is very busy during the summer because
Mhm.
they have a ton of wine tourism, and um, they also have the lake, Lake Chelan, which is
Mhm.
crazy busy during the summer. So I play a lot up there as well, which is super fun because it's beautiful and it's a very like tight knit community of people who live in Chelan, and so you see like your same regulars at like every place, which is really
Mhm.
fun. But yeah, it's a lot of wineries, tasting rooms, restaurants, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's really lovely. I love all my venues that I get to play at. It's so much
Yeah.
fun. So, yeah, I have a great like circuit that I'm on, and I'm
Mhm.
always trying to find new places. Like I mentioned, I have been working a lot trying to get over on the west side of the mountains in
Mhm.
Seattle, in that area. There's a place over there called Woodinville, which
Yeah.
is it's like just all wine. It's
Mhm.
all winery. There's just like blocks of wineries, and so I've played there quite a few times this last summer, and yeah, always trying to get in over there because it's a different crowd, but it's still like my same kind of crowd that I play for
Right.
all the time. The wine crowd, who I love
Mhm.
very much.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to spend much time in that area. I did get to go to Chateau Saint Michel,
Oh
and
yes,
see the peacocks and all that. And when
nice.
I went, it was probably 2019.
Mm.
Teatro Zinzani was right across from them. Are you familiar with what that is?
Yes, vaguely.
Yeah, so Teatro Zinzani, they're like a Cirque du Soleil style dinner show thing. And at that time, it was in a big old gypsy tent. And
Mm.
let's throw tent in air quotes. This thing was huge. There were probably 500 people inside.
Oh my
But the tent was over 100 years old. And this
god.
was directly across from Chateau Saint Michel at that time. I think
Oh,
they're now in
cool.
downtown Seattle. Um, but just super
Amazing.
cool. So much stuff going on in that area. I mean, it's been
Yeah,
booming, for 30, 40 years at this point, but doesn't seem to show any signs of stopping. So I totally
I
understand why
agree.
you want to get
Yeah,
involved over there.
there's a ton of great art and yeah, like you're saying, like a lot of music, a lot of just cool stuff in the
Right?
area. I really love Woodinville, and I love that whole kind of outer Seattle area, like
Mhm.
Bellevue, Everett,
Right.
these places that are not like right downtown.
So, wanted to ask you, how are you taking care of, let's say, like your inner circle of fans? I'm sure you're familiar with, the idea of creating, 1,000 true fans. How are you taking care of those true fans?
That's such a good question. I have wanted to for a while start something kind of like do like a Patreon or something
Hmm.
like that where it's just one step where you can get a little closer, I guess.
Yeah,
Like, if you want like a specific, I do a ton of covers in a lot of different genres. If
sure.
you want to hear like a specific song, I can like record that just for you and send it to
Hmm.
you. Or, I do this sometimes anyway, but like people want me to write a song or do a little recording for like someone's birthday or
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I'd love to do more of that because I have a ton of fun with that, and it keeps things interesting. Like,
Yeah.
it's not just going and playing your set and packing up and leaving. Like it kind of keeps things fresh and gives you a way to connect. I also really want to get more into, like we were mentioning a bit earlier, some merch, and maybe like specific limited merch. Um, I also, I know it's old school, but a lot of the places I play, people still want to purchase CDs from you.
Yeah.
So I do make CDs. I use what CD Baby, just like their
Okay.
disc makers.
Sure.
And it's pretty easy and straightforward. And so that's something that I'm really excited about is I am going to do a new batch of CDs with all my new songs and all the old ones, and
Yeah.
also one exclusive track that is an original that I've never recorded, but I have a well recorded live track that I recorded at a beautiful theater in Spokane last year. And that's like totally unheard. Nobody has heard that yet except for me and my guitarist. And I love the song. And I think people who like my music and like the vibe and the lyricism that I have in my music will love and appreciate it. And so I really want that to be kind of like almost like a fun Easter egg, like if you are the first however many to purchase the CD, you're going to get to hear like this exclusive song or whatever. I'm still working on all the ideas for that, but I love the idea of exclusive stuff or like planting little seeds for people to find. And I would say I do that a lot in my lyrics as well. I plant seeds for people who are huge nerds like me to find, because a lot of my music is mythology based and like history, Greek history. I love all that. And so I try to write stuff that is still relatable, that you can still listen to and enjoy and get something out of, even if you don't know all these obscure mythological references. But if you know them, then you're gonna get even more. And so I really love that when my favorite artists do stuff like that. And so that's something that I try to do, and it makes it, I mean, I love to write that way. I would say that's just kind of the way that I write. So yeah, there are a lot of ideas I would say I have for things for the fans. And I would say I'm in a spot in my career where I am starting to have more fans than just like people that I know in real life, which is very cool. And I'm incredibly grateful for anyone who listens to my music at all. But people who like take the time, especially to be like, hey, I don't know you, but like I heard this song and it's dope or whatever. That's amazing. So I really do a lot of things kind of under the radar that I'm working on for stuff like that.
Yeah, totally. What are some of your short-term music goals?
I would say probably, okay, well, a lot. I like to do like yearly goals. And I will say, this is still a bit under the radar, but I'll tell you the exclusive. No, I'm kidding. But like, for example, this last year, a big goal of mine has been I wanted to work on a cruise. I love traveling, and I think my kind of style of music would do really well on a cruise. And I'm good with like taking requests and hamming it up with the audience. Like I love doing that. And so that has been a goal of mine for the past year. And I remember last year about this time, I was like, okay, that's like one of my New Year's resolutions. It's like, I want to get into this process, see what it's all about, see if I could get on a cruise. Well, I'm going to be on a cruise from February to May of 2025.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited. I'm going to be in the Caribbean for about a month and a half. And then
what? No way.
So,
Oh, super cool.
It's like the opportunity of a lifetime, truly.
For sure.
Like, it's got to be from God, because I don't know how this opportunity came about. But it's so amazing, and I'm really excited about the cruise line I'm working with and everything. So that was like my goal for the last year. Is I've been, I was doing like auditions and putting together like videos and stuff like that. For this next year, I would say a big goal of mine is I would love to get a sync placement for my music.
Yes. Sure.
That's a big goal, and I'm taking a course right now. I don't know if you know. I always forget how to pronounce his name. I think it's Ari Herstead.
Yes.
Yeah. Ari's Take Academy and stuff. I love him. I think he's great. I like his books and everything.
Yep.
So I'm taking a course of his that's all about sync placement and kind of how to get your stuff ready for sync, and looking for like a sync agent and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So that's a huge goal of mine. I think I have the good quality recordings and that I'm happy with, both with the vocals and just instrumentally as like stems, that I think could do well in that realm. And that's a comment that I have gotten consistently when people hear my music, is they're like, this sounds like it could be in a movie, or this is very cinematic, or whatever. And so I'm like, interesting. Let's try to make that happen. So that's a big goal of mine. I would love to, I think I mentioned this earlier, but your songs are really like your assets. And so I'm kind of like, I want my assets that I love and have poured so much time and money and energy into, I want those to start going in some different directions. And if possible, making some like passive income, if that's possible. So I would say that getting a sync placement, that's a big goal for the next year. This is also a goal, and I don't know how it's going to happen, but it is a goal, which is I'd love to get on a tour of some kind, or like open for somebody for a tour, even locally, whatever. That's a big goal. I've always wanted to tour, and even if it was just someone's like, hey, we need someone to open up for 4 shows for us in Washington.
Yes, please. Yeah.
I would love that. So that's another big goal of mine. I would say that one's a bit on the back burner for the moment, just because I'm doing a lot of prep work for like this cruise I'm going to be on, and there's a lot of other things going on, but that's a bit of a background goal of mine, I would say.
Totally. Well, obviously you're doing a great job really chasing your goals and accomplishing them. I mean, it sounds like a lot of this is, if you want to call it a God thing, or at least it's serendipitous, that things are working out for you, but you're putting in the work. You're making yourself available for those things to happen for you. And I know that there's cruises like that kind of take off from Seattle and go up, into Canada and kind of whatever. And it sounds like you're skipping those and going straight to the big leagues with the Caribbean and the Mediterranean. Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. It was really funny too, because so I started working with an agent, and then he's the one who was like, hey, there's this opportunity. And both him and the director that I've been working with on the cruise, they're like, this is a good opportunity. Like you're kind of like you're skipping the small leagues and you're going straight to like the big time with this one. And yeah, it's a very like high end kind of ship and company, and I'm just so excited. I can't wait. This is all like, if you're seeing all of this is all cruise things I'm working on and getting my repertoire up and all that kind of stuff. It's good work to have. I'm
for sure
excited by it. So it's very fun.
Definitely. So can you talk a little bit about that? Can you talk about, how you, found an agent that's, helping you break down these doors? How did you get from, complete unknown to where you are now?
Yeah, that's a good question. And this is something, just put a pin in that for 1 second, because I will absolutely talk about that. But something else is that I really want to use my social media to talk about this process with like the cruise, and then I kind of want to do like a vlog sort of thing, because for me, like I want to see, I've watched people's vlogs who do this, and I am like, this is kind of a random thing about being like a cruise musician. I'm interested in it, and I've talked to like people I know in real life, and they're like, that's totally interesting. You should, vlog your experience and all that. So that's something that you might be seeing on social media in the next few months.
Sure.
But in terms of how did I get involved? So last year, and at the beginning of this year, I basically laid out my resume, my song list, my demo video to any agency I could find. I did some research about like, how do you get on a cruise? How does this happen? And I watched, like I said, a lot of vlogs of people who do this and got tips from them. And like, here's what you should put in your package that you send to these agencies. So for me, it was, like I said, my resume, which I updated at the beginning of the year, and then a list of all the songs that I play. And they say for you to have about 200 to start, and kind of put on that list to send to them. Oh, and it's a lot of, popular stuff. Right now I'm working on like a ton of like Elton John and the Beatles and, that kind of thing, which I love anyway. So it's all good. And then, so resume, song list, and then my dad and stepmom actually helped me record a demo video last year, which was really, I'm very grateful to them for doing that. So we set up like nice camera, and I did 20 songs, and then my stepmom kind of cut them into little pieces, and we made like a 6-minute video of just showcasing a lot of different genres, a lot of different styles of music, just to give them kind of an overview of what you can do. And that has been really helpful for me. And so, like I said, I sprayed that out to a ton of different agencies, and I heard back from a few earlier in the year. I would say also, if this is something that you are interested in doing and you're listening to this, having live footage, everyone will ask for that. I didn't know that at first. Everyone will want live footage, or interacting with the audience, or people singing along to you playing, or all that kind of stuff. So that's also a good thing to have. So like I said, a few agencies had reached back out and were like, we have these dates available. Are you available? And a lot of it was very close. And as a musician, I mean, currently I have stuff booked out into October of next year. So like, it's hard to switch your schedule that quickly, especially when I'm involved in so many different bands and projects and stuff. Like, I feel bad canceling last minute on the bands that I'm a part of. And so it was just like nothing was really working out. And I said, as I mentioned earlier, I did a couple of auditions for different agencies, but it was never like I signed with any of them. It was more like they saw my application and were like, you could be good here. Let's see, kind of thing. And nothing really ever came from those. This agency that I'm currently working with, I had signed up for their list a long time ago, earlier this year. And actually, my drummer who worked on my project in Boston, he worked as a cruise ship musician on this agency, and had said, oh, they're great, because we were making conversation, having lunch in the studio, and I had said this is something I wanted to do. And he was a drummer on their cruise line for a few years, and he was like, it's so great, they're awesome, like, give them my name and tell them I recommended you. I was like, oh, that's great. So that was really nice. And anyway, so I hadn't heard from this agency in a long time. I kind of forgot I had even put in anything with them. And then they sent out a message to me and some other people on their roster saying, hey, we're looking for a vocalist pianist for this time, this cruise line. Here's the details. Email us if you're interested. And I was like, yeah, I'm interested. This looks amazing. So I immediately emailed back and was like, I want to know more. I can make myself available. Let me know. And
Okay.
so I, got on a call with my agent, and we got to talking, and he was like, I think that you'd be really good for this. Are you okay with meeting with the director of entertainment for the whole cruise line? I was like, okay. So
Wow.
we did that like 2 days later, had an interview with them. And that afternoon, they officially offered me the job, sent over the contracts. I had my parents look over the contracts. We're like, are these good? I don't know. And they
Right.
said these look great. So yeah, I am signed up with them, and that's going to be happening in February. So it's very exciting. Very exciting.
Absolutely. So just a couple of the particulars there. How many times will you be playing a day? How long? How's that work?
So my contract is I can play up to 4 sets a day.
Okay.
And that could be there, I think 50-minute sets.
Okay.
So, I mean, really, that's not much more than I play now, because I do
Right.
like 3 hour back to back to back gigs,
Right.
multiple times a week.
Yeah.
And so that could be like, an hour of cocktail piano music,
Hmm.
and then an hour of vocals during dinner. And then there's actually other musicians on board, and they really encourage you to collaborate. So then maybe you do an
Yeah.
hour set with the jazz trio
Sure.
or whatever. So it kind of, from what I can tell, and I've not obviously been on board yet, but from what I can see, it's a lot of um, trying to mix things up. They
Hmm.
really encourage you on this line, especially. They're like, get creative. If you want to come up with like a music trivia night and do that instead of one of your sets one night for the guests,
Oh.
or you want to do like, so I have this huge list on my phone of all these ideas that I've been coming up with. Like, I want to do like movie music trivia, or like,
Hmm.
name that tune, where I play something and they have to say it back. They want to keep the guests entertained. And so I'll have
Sure.
guests in a 2 week rotation. So you have the same guests for 2 weeks, and then they disembark and you get a new set of guests.
Two
So
weeks. Wow. So I mean, are you
2 weeks.
crossing? Like, are you crossing the Caribbean to the Med, or how does it work? That seems like a long time.
No, from what I've seen on my itinerary that they sent me, is for the first like month and a half, I'll be staying in the Caribbean, and it's kind of like you go around the islands for 2 weeks, and then you end where you started,
Mhm.
and then you do that again for what, like 6 or 7 weeks.
Yeah.
And then there's about a week when we're going to be just at sea, and that's when we're going to cross over to the Mediterranean and then do a similar thing over there.
Well, amazing. So I think it's going to be such a great experience for you. In our house, we watch a lot of Below Deck, so cruises are like kind of always top of mind. Um,
Cool.
yeah. But another thing I wanted to ask you about, and kind of a goal, is there a particular venue that is just like bucket list for you? Like, I have to play there someday.
Mhm. Ooh. I mean, I would say my heart has kind of always lived in like Nashville a little bit. I
Sure.
love Nashville very much. And if I could ever get like some kind of publishing deal as a songwriter and get to live near Nashville, that would be so amazing. So, I think the first one that comes to mind as like a crazy dream kind of venue is like the Ryman Auditorium or the,
Hmm.
the Grand Ole Opry. Those are huge.
Right.
And I don't really play country music, so I don't know how that would work. But that the Ryman, it's so like sacred. And
Yeah.
so that would be amazing. Um, and then I think also, and this is actually for our Pink Floyd band, uh, our like dream gig that is sort of on our list for the next couple years. Like, this is our goal, is we would love to play at the Paramount Theater in Seattle,
Yeah.
which is so beautiful. And I've seen a ton of shows there over the years. It's just so gorgeous and old and great. And so that would be that's, I think, a slightly more realistic dream goal for me.
I think you're doing an amazing job just with your networking, and I feel like I'm kind of at the beginning of that. So I really appreciate you, doing this, and I look forward to following you in any way that we can collaborate or even just help each other out with sharing. I'm totally down for that. And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
very excited for the route that you're going. That like you have this vision, you have these things that you want to do, and you're making it happen. And it's very admirable.
Thanks very much. And I think what you're doing is also very admirable. I think, musicians, we have to really stick together. And I am not a like competitive person. I would say I'm really only competitive with myself. And when it
Sure.
comes to other artists, I want to help. I want to come together as a community, because it's like if artists are turning on each other, like what the hell, like
Right.
come on guys, we have to stick together. Artists have to be there for each other. And I think so often the people who will love and understand and support your art are the best, are other artists. And so I think, any information that anybody wants from me, I'm not saying I'm like, the be all end all of information, but I'm happy to share any information, any experiences that I have, because I want to know other people's experiences as well. And so I think what you're doing is awesome. And anytime people can be sharing information is great, because, like what we were talking about with the cruise stuff, like I would have wanted to hear how this happened for somebody. That's
Right.
I did all this research trying to find how to do this. And so I'm happy to share. I think, information should not be like gate kept. I think that's so dumb. Artists need to help each other out, and I'm always happy to do that. So I'm very grateful to you for having this platform and doing what you're doing and sharing this information and building up other artists in the meantime. I think that's fantastic. So thank you very much for having me on today. This has been a blast. Super fun.
Absolutely. So glad that you were able to join me and we were able to make this work. So you're officially my first guest on what's tentatively titled the Underground for Now music podcast.
I love it. That's so exciting. I am going to be sharing the crap out of this. This is so fun.
Please
I love
do.
it.
Yeah. All right. Well, Elaine, thank you so much. This has been great. And
awesome.
Well, hey, thank you so much.
This was so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. You'll be hearing from me real soon.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.